What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Lock and Cash podcast. It's Tuesday, November 25th. It's the week of 13 in the NFL. Thanksgiving week is a big one for football fans like myself, so this should be a lot of fun. I missed you guys on Friday. I apologize for not having a wrap up show up. Just a lot of things ended up happening. Nothing emergency wise, but stuff like with the kids that I had to go, watch my kids. My wife had to go do something for her job, for school, whatever, for her our kids' school. Just like personal stuff got in the way, and I didn't have time to record. And then by the time I got to it, it was just too late. The market was moving already, and it was bouncing back and forth. And I also didn't have a best bet to give you because I only had one play pending for Sunday. So it just didn't work out. But we will definitely have one this week. So what I'm thinking of doing this week before we get into week 13 is what I'm thinking of doing is we're going to do the early market review today. There's already been some line moves, but I'm anticipating a lot more, especially after Thursday once the Thanksgiving's games finish. So I'm thinking we'll do a show today. I'll probably come back with a show tomorrow, a much shorter show, and give you a best bet for Thanksgiving because I already have plays released for Thanksgiving. And then we'll finish it up on Friday for the Sunday slate. So I think we're going to have 3 episodes this week pending. But either way, turn on notifications, whatever I upload, you'll see it. Week 12 could not have gone any better for us. I'm super happy because we had a tough week 11. I think we went like 2-4, 2-5, I think it was in week 11. Week 12, we sweep, we go 3-0. Insanely happy. One spread, it was Texans +6 on Thursday. Outright win. Then we had the Chiefs and the Lions yesterday in a parlay. We had the Cowboys and 49ers to finish off a teaser. So 3-0, picking up almost 5 units. Can't complain at all there. We move. We're well into the double digits in terms of units for the season. It will be great to finish strong and try to pick up like a +20, +25 unit season. That's the goal right now. Currently have 3 plays released for week 13. Like I said, tomorrow I'll give you one of those for Thanksgiving. But aside from that, let's get right into it. So we will start on Turkey Day with a 1 p.m. Eastern enormous matchup between the Packers and Lions. And listen, when you look at this Thanksgiving slate, man, could you ask for anything more? I mean, all 3 games is a phenomenal Thanksgiving football day. Green Bay at Detroit, the Lions laying 2.5 at home, a juice 2.5 right now, pretty much across the board, and 49.5 as the total. This was 3 guys on the look ahead and 3 early in the week. And I am pretty surprised to see this move off of 3 in the opposite direction. Green Bay is still dealing with a lot of injuries, especially on offense. They played the Vikings, and that game looked very lopsided. But the Packers offense is kind of in this state where it's just getting the job done, but there's not much explosiveness. They're not blowing your doors off. Like they put up 23 points in that game. They really run away with the game because McCarthy is just continues to get essentially worse every week for the Vikings. So that's a whole separate issue. But he looked insanely bad. And the Packers defense is so elite at home. They got to him, harassed him, made him make several mistakes and punished him for those mistakes, punished the Vikings for those mistakes. The Lions, on the other hand, were in an absolute barn burner, fighting for their lives against the Giants. I have a take on what happened in that game, but first let's just recap it. So the Giants jump out to a big lead, double-digit lead throughout most of the game. Lions come storming back in the fourth quarter. I thought the Giants made the correct decision by going for it at the goal line, try to ice the game right there. They don't get it. Lions come down, send it to overtime. Insane 60-yard field goal. Oh, my God, to send it to overtime. And then, of course, they win it in overtime. So the Lions survive. I think that they were looking ahead. Okay, I'm not going to overreact to that game. I think that they probably minimally prepped for the Giants, got caught in one of those Jameis Winston whirlwinds, whatever you want to call it, tornadoes, where he just balled out. He had a good game. Did make some risky throws, did throw one pick, could have thrown more, but it was just your typical Jameis game. Played great, had that amazing play where he caught the touchdown pass. But when you're watching a game like that as a fan, it's so much fun. It's like it was one of the best games of the day. As a bettor, obviously sweating out the lines, I needed them to win. But other than that, it's like afterwards you dig into the box score. The box score tells a much different story. The Giants should have never been in the game based on the box score. All right. The Lions played well enough to win that game comfortably, and they've consistently forced the Giants into third and longs. And that sometimes can be the difference in a game. They just kept converting the big downs. The big third, like third and 15, third and 17, third and 12, third and third, and Jameis would just make a play, make a throw, make a play, make a throw. And that kept the Giants in the game. Without that, they're not in the game. So I think a little misleading, and I think the Lions were looking ahead. In hindsight, I can look at that game and say, man, I think they were looking ahead. And I think they probably did not prep much. And they know it's a short week and they got to get ready for Green Bay in a big revenge spot at home. So as a result, this line has dipped down. I think you're getting good value on Detroit. I make this line 4 in my power ratings. And I really thought that we were going to move off of 3 in this game in the other direction. And I still wouldn't be surprised if by Thursday, this is back to 3, maybe 3.5. But I cannot believe that we're getting 2.5s here. So I like Detroit quite a bit in the spot. I think they can run the ball on Green Bay. One thing, and that's what they really need to do. Now, if Green Bay gets game-breaking pressure on Goff, he basically just melts and folds. You see it time and time again. They got to get the ball out of his hands much quicker. They got to utilize Montgomery on passing downs to block the rushers that are coming in. One thing I will say, though, Green Bay, low-key, no one really talks about this. They do have similar home road splits defensively to Cleveland and to Houston, where their defense is top 2, top 3 unit at home. And then on the road is still good. Don't get me wrong, but there is a drop off. All right. Like 4 yards per play at home allowed for Green Bay, 5.2 yards per play allowed on the road for Green Bay. I think they're allowing like less than 18 points per game at home, but over 25 points per game on the road. Like you can go down all the stats and you'll see the roads. I mean, remember that Cowboys game on the road? The Cowboys put up 40 points on them. So there are going to be opportunities for Detroit, and I do think coming off of that unimpressive win, they survive against the Giants, the sentiment's going to be a little bit low. I really like the Lions in a revenge spot, a game that they've had circled probably for quite some time now. To beat the Packers here, Lions -2.5 would be the side for me in that game. Also, my numbers do lean to the under as well, just a little bit, because I think both teams will be able to run the ball a bit. I just don't see a lot of explosives through the air against these two defenses, but we'll see what happens. The next game up is the 4:30 p.m. Eastern game on Thursday. Another just absolute banger. You got the Chiefs taking on the Cowboys in Dallas. Kansas City -3 at most spots right now. 52.5 is the total. The market moves have been very clear in this game. It's been Dallas money and it's been over money. There was 3.5s initially. Even saw 4s on the look ahead. Those have been bought away. You're now getting 3s at 115. So juice 3s. 51 up to 51.5, 52, 52.5. That's been the total movement. And I think that the total one makes total sense. Not total. I think it makes a lot of sense because both offenses have speed at the skill position. Both offenses have obviously 2 very good quarterbacks that can sling it anywhere on the field. And both defenses are susceptible to speed. And you're playing indoors on the fast track. So I think that an overplay here makes a lot of sense. What doesn't make sense to me is the buy on the Cowboys. Now, I know they're on the upswing and everybody wants to jump on teams after they're doing really well. I get that. But they were down 21-0 on Sunday. All right. They spotted Philly 21 points, as Schottenheimer said. That's not a sustainable way to win. Now, they thoroughly beat up Vegas the week before. You see how bad the Raiders are. I mean, my God, we'll get to the Raiders later, but you see how bad that team is. So that win is not doing much for me. For the Cowboys, this past week's win, much better against the Eagles. Philly just stalled out completely on offense, and they couldn't stop Pickens and Lamb. Dak's playing at a really high level. But what I want to do here is I want to play into the angle that you're now getting Dallas at their market high price. All right, peak price in my opinion. Third game in the last 10 days. Remember, they played Monday Night Football, then Sunday, a short week, and now they're playing Thursday. Really tough spot against a team that cannot afford a loss. Okay. And what I also want to play, so I want to fade the spot for the Cowboys off of an emotional divisional upset win at home. Everyone's going nuts. Amazing comeback. Now you have to get back up again for your third game in 10 days. And in come Kansas City, championship pedigree, obviously elite on offense, going to take advantage of your defense in a way that Philly could not, quite frankly. And Philly, fumbling the ball away, it just did everything they could to lose that game. And the vibes around Philly are not great. So I teased Dallas in that game on Sunday up to 9. Normally that's a game where I would want to try to play on the Eagles, but the vibes are just not great there. And I think there's clearly some locker room issues. I didn't make much of it early in the season, but I think there clearly is now. And I'm saying all of this. I'm not trying to detract from the Dallas win, but I kind of am in unintentionally. But I just think this is a much better spot for Kansas City. If you want to grab a 3 here with the Chiefs, I just my ratings make it 4.5. I think their offense is so good. I mean, look at the box score. You have a 23-20 final with the Chiefs and Colts. Just look at the box score. They outgained them. They dominated time of possession. They dominated yards per play, first downs, third down conversions. Go look at the fourth quarter stats. I mean, that game, if you replay that game 100 times with those stats, 80 of those games is a double-digit win for the Chiefs. 23-20 is super misleading. Now, Mahomes gets the tipped pass that's a pick at the goal line. What are you going to do? That turns into 7 points for the Colts. That could have been a 14-point swing right there. So I think you could have easily had in that game like a 27-14, 30-17 type of final, but instead it's 23-20. Everyone's like, oh, the Chiefs survived. They did survive, but they really, I mean, they played as well as you could play in that game against the Colts. So, man, I just really like how Kansas City's offense is playing, and I just think if they just clean up a few things, right? They go up against Denver, then they go up against Indy, two defenses that can cause you to make some mistakes. And those mistakes happened, even though the yards per play were there, the yardage was there, the first downs, the time possession, they're running the football really well. I think this is a matchup where this defense cannot make you pay, cannot force you to make those mistakes. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a game where Mahomes doesn't throw a pick, right? Like he did in the last two games. So I think he plays a very clean game, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 250 plus, whatever. They run for 100 yards. I could see that type of game. And if that is the case, I don't think with Spags and the way he schemes up his pressures and the way he gets to you at just the right times on just the right downs, like he did against Daniel Jones. I know Dak is way better than Jones, but I think he could do just enough. And when it's a flat 3 with Mahomes, man, I almost always got to take it. Like, I didn't want to lay the 4 against Denver, right? I stayed away from that. I didn't want to lay 3.5. I don't want to lay 3.5 with him in general, but 3 flat, I think is kind of crazy in this game. So I like the Chiefs in this one. All right, the last one on Thanksgiving is the Bengals taking on the Ravens. Baltimore -7 here. We are starting to see some 6.5s pop up. It was 7.5, so it's kind of been one-way Cincy money. 51.5 is the total. We don't know yet if Joe Burrow will be back for this game. He did post something on Instagram, on his Instagram story, which kind of hinted that he might be coming back. So if you're into that ominous kind of speculation from athletes, it looks like Burrow might be back. My thing is, I thought and by the way, look at the last 2 games for the Bengals. The defense has really stepped up. So you got to give them credit where credit's due. They're one of the worst defenses we've ever seen. And then they come out of the bye. They look a bit better against Pittsburgh, although Flacco threw a pick 6. They look much better against New England, but Flacco threw another pick 6. So there's been a lot of talk, on social media or amongst the media. I was like, all right, well, if Burrow comes back, well, the offense has been great. He can't improve that much. Well, at least he won't throw pick 6s every game, right? I mean, Flacco, you give him credit. He's an old man. He's still out there slinging it. He's going to have some great games, but he's going to make some of those those like boneheaded mistakes. That pick 6 was insane, the one he threw against the Pats on Sunday. It was like, what are you doing? So at least Burrow will not give you those, right? So if he comes back, and we have to see what he looks like, but to me, I do think the Ravens win this game, but I'm not running to lay 7 or 6.5 with them because that offense just doesn't look right. So, the defense looks very good, but they did play the Jets. But it has looked good over the last several weeks on this long winning streak they've had. But man, Lamar's mobile element is just not there. He's still doing his little scrambling and buying time in the pocket, but if you just watch the Jets game, there's several plays where he got chased down from behind or tackled in around the pocket area or outside the pocket where he would have been gone earlier in the season. And you could see it. It's something different. Now, you might claim there's nothing happened, but there's something. Maybe he's just doesn't want to push himself too hard because he's, the fear of re-injury or something like that. But something is affecting their offense, so it's not nearly as explosive as it should be with the personnel they have. Look, that offense on paper should be the top offense in the NFL, but it's not. So a little concern there for me. They're not profiling to me right now as a team I want to run and lay points with, especially against a team that can put up points. So I really just have no opinion on this game either way. It's going to be a pass for me. I don't have anything on it. I make the line. My power ratings make it 8. So if you just want a power ratings play, it would lean to the 6.5 with the Ravens, minus 6.5. But like I said, don't want to run to bet that, especially because I kind of like what I've seen from the Bengals defense. Now we'll see on the road. They're going on the back on the road now, in another divisional game. We'll see what happens. I guess I'll give you a small lean to the Ravens, but I'm personally not playing it, and I don't love the game. All right, we have a Black Friday game as we do now every year with the Bears taking on the Eagles on Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Philly -7, basically across the board here. 44.5 is the total. Um, the Bears game. Let's talk about the Bears game a little bit on Sunday against the Steelers. They okay, a final score 31-28. They win by 3. They cover a 2.5 if you got it early, if you got it late, 3 with the Steelers push, whatever. The fact that, Rudolph, the market basically said that Rodgers down to Rudolph was a half point and maybe even no difference. Kind of turned out to be right. The game lands right on 3. But to me, the bigger concern here is though, like Chicago can clearly put up points. They can run the ball very well. That defense though, and I know they won the game, but they just don't look good. And I know the Steelers got a defensive touchdown. I just feel like you right now have this perception of like, okay, the Eagles offense, both by the metrics and the eye test, just doesn't look right. And then you have this Bears team that's coming in on a long winning streak, playing really well. But they've got no corners. They've got no linebackers. The pass rush isn't great. I mean, if there was ever a game for the Eagles to get back into form offensively, it would be this game. It would be this matchup against this team. If there was ever a game where Saquon could look like last year's Saquon, it would be this game. Where Hurts can throw over the middle of the field comfortably, it would be this game. So I just feel like you're kind of buying low here on Philly's offense if you want to play into that. Or you might just want to think, this is like the Commanders of last year, where it doesn't matter what number you give them. If they're getting points, just grab them. They're winning all these games. They're winning a lot of them outright. They're covering spreads as dogs. Kind of what's been happening. So you can either look at the Bears as like this year's team of destiny, kind of like Washington was last season, or you can say you want to buy low on Philly's offense. To me, I want to buy low on the Eagles offense. I don't want to lay 7, even though they do have a good ATS record at home, laying basically 7 or less anywhere within a touchdown. They do have a great 8 cover record with Hurts. But I just think Philly wins this game. So I'm probably going to combine them in some kind of money line parlay with another team. I would tease them as well in this game because I do think they're going to win the game. So I'd be more than comfortable teasing Philly from -7 to -1. I think they can stop the run pretty effectively, which is going to be what the Bears need. Listen, the Bears' offensive success a lot of it has stemmed from the fact that they have been really good running the ball, surprisingly good. And that's all the credit to Ben Johnson, obviously. But the Eagles did a really good job stopping the run against Detroit at home. And that's a key part of their offense. I think they can do the same thing here. So I like Philly to win the game. I don't think it's going to be super comfortable win. I don't think it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be a low scoring game, lean under, and lean Philly to pull it out. All right, we head over to Sunday, the first game on November 30th, week 13. We've got the Texans taking on the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis. Colts -4.5 at home, 44.5 is the total. We initially thought we were going to get CJ Stroud back for this game. It's looking like that might not be the case. He's still in concussion protocol. That's concerning. I know it was a bad hit, and there were reports after the first weekend after he got the hit that he was still sensitive to light and stuff like that. So we kind of assumed, all right, he's going to miss more. He's going to miss more. But now we're going on a month basically out with a concussion. So it makes you wonder what else is going on. I know there were some talks about maybe the neck. There's something with the neck. Whatever is going on with CJ Stroud, it doesn't sound great. So I think you're going to get a 4th straight game of Davis Mills. Now, Mills is playing great. He's won 3 straight games. The Texans are rolling. Just come off of an outright win against the Bills. They've got extended rest. Not much to hate here for the Texans. But I want to play into the fact that the home road splits are way different for both of these teams, by the way. And Indianapolis, yes, they hung with Kansas City, although they got statistically beat up in that game. This is a much different team at home, and we haven't seen them at home in a while. Remember, they played the game against the Falcons. Who did they play before that? Let me go check. Colts. I don't even remember, but they played that game against the Falcons, right? And that was in, what was it, Berlin or whatever it was. So prior to that, they went to, oh yeah, this is the game that they lost against the Steelers. So they went at Pitt, laying points on the road, lost outright, outdoors on that grass. You know how it is. Then they go overseas. They survive in overtime against the Falcons. Then they have their bye week. Then they go to Kansas City. Obviously, very elite home field. Led for most of the game, end up losing it. Now, finally, it's been a month. It's been a month since they come back home. Now they come back home to where they are truly elite on both sides of the ball, a dominant home team. I was looking at this game on Sunday. I already sent out this note to my subs, but full transparency to you guys, I was staring at this game on Sunday and I wanted Colts 3 or 3.5. It was all 3.5s across the board. And I was like, do I get a 3 here? I really wanted to play the Colts. Was going to make it a 2-unit bet. And then that same evening, someone hit it. Somebody else released it or somebody hit it and it went to 4.5. So I'm not, and my ratings made it 5, which is why I really wanted a 3. And I would have maybe even played a 3.5. But now we're sitting at 4.5. So I can't play the Colts anymore. I will look to maybe use them in a money line parlay or something like that. But I think this is a great buy low, sell high spot. The Texans, I talked about the Packers home road defensive splits earlier. Texans have the same thing, the same exact thing. Yards per play on the road go up, points per game go up, yards per game go. It all goes up on the road versus a truly elite unit when they're at home. Now everyone right now, the media is falling in love with the Texans defense. They're streaking. They're now above 500. They're coming for the division. Listen, the you saw it on Sunday. The Chiefs had to send so many guys just to get a little pressure on Jones. The Colts offensive line is really good. Houston, number one versus the pass, but you can run on them. That's where you can get them. And we saw it in the Buffalo game. They were amazing versus the pass in that game, but Cook got his yards on the ground. And this has to be, in my opinion, a big Jonathan Taylor. I think this will be a huge Jonathan Taylor game at home where the Colts roll. And I actually think they win this game comfortably. I think Houston's win streak comes to an end. They win it comfortably, and then I'll look to back Houston in the revenge game when they're at home, when Stroud is fully back and healthy. And I think that will be a much better spot for them. I think this spot screams Indianapolis at you. I just wish I could have gotten it early. And for me, as I, I'm running a pick service. It's difficult for me to go ahead and send a play like Sunday, 4 p.m. on Sunday or 7 p.m. on Sunday, because I know all my people that are paying for these picks, they're watching the games, they're sweating out our bets. I feel like it's disingenuous to send it at that time and be like, everyone, if you missed it, you missed it. But then the line moves. So I try to give out widely available lines as much as I can. But I just want you guys to know that I love the spot for Indy, and I would have played Indy if the number was still there. It just has gone a little too far. All right, next game up, Arizona taking on Tampa Bay. Not much of an opinion here for me. Baker looks hurt. The entire Buccaneers team is falling apart. It's catastrophic. The Cardinals just lost a game that I have no clue how they lost. I mean, the Jacksonville Jaguars did as much wrong as you could do in a game and still pulled it out in overtime. The Cardinals should have won that game. It was the right side. If you took the +3, you pushed. Bad beat. It was the right side. Now they head to Tampa Bay. Both of these teams trending far down. I think Arizona's far healthier. They've got a healthy quarterback. Tampa Bay, man, that defense has fallen off a cliff. They just, as the season has gone on and they've gotten wear and tear on them, you've seen the age start to show, the lack of speed start to show in their secondary. Oof, it's just a lot of flat-footed guys that cannot keep up. So I don't really have an opinion either way on this game. It's a tough one for me to call, especially that we don't know if we're getting Baker Mayfield in this one or if you're getting Teddy Bridgewater, who I think at this point in his career is not an NFL, starter at the level that he's playing. So just can't get anywhere with this. There was 2.5s, there was 3s. My numbers have it 2.5. It would be obviously much higher with Baker, but I don't think we're getting Baker in this game. So complete stay away for me for Arizona, Tampa Bay. If anything, let's see. We got a small lean to the under 44.5. You're going to notice, by the way, that a lot of my stuff, if you watch my shows week in, week out, as the season goes on, my spreads, my power rating numbers that I give you or my leans will get tighter, and my totals will start to lean more to unders. Overs early in the season when everyone's fresh and healthy. Now it's the cold, winter days. We're going to have rain. We're going to have snow. We're going to have wind. We're going to have beat up teams. Unders are going to start hitting at a higher clip now. Don't be surprised at all if that starts to happen. So lean under in this game. No opinion on the side at all. This is a game I would not touch at all. Um, if you want to say if it's Bridgewater, he's not an NFL level player anymore, and Brissett has the advantage there. You take the 3 with Arizona. I don't know why you would though. It's complete stay away from me in this game. Two teams that are just trending super down. Listen, that was a big win for, big loss for Carolina last night because right now that division is up for grabs. Oof. With the way Tampa's going, Carolina can easily win the NFC South. All right, next game up, we've got the Jaguars taking on the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee. Jacksonville -6.5, 42.5 is the total. This is a game where I don't know if I'm going to get to, now. Listen, if a 7 pops in this game, I want Tennessee. I think this is a game the Titans can absolutely win outright. Now the last 2 weeks, I want to point out, I'm not just saying that for shock value because the last 2 weeks, I told you guys I thought the Titans were very live against the Texans at home, getting 6.5. They were tied, almost went to overtime. Davis Mills leads the game-winning drive. They lose by 3, but they cover the spread. Could have won that game. Last week, I told you my biggest power rating discrepancy was I had Tennessee +9, but they were +13. They end up losing by 6. So I've got a decent feel on this Titans team. Cam Ward is showing improvement every week. He's got nothing around him to help him. But he to me, I mean, like what I'm trying, this is not the Will Levis Titans, right? Cam Ward is improving week in, week out. They just don't have any. They don't have a coach, basically. They don't have any weapons around them. The defense fights and keeps them in some games. Against Seattle, Seattle's a very tough road team. They're so good on the road, but they fought a lot in the second half, came back, if you're a Titans better, gave you the backdoor cover. I mean, in a divisional game here against a team like the Jaguars, that is just, I don't know what Jacksonville is. I know they have a good record and they're winning games, but they are just, it's so unimpressive how they pull these games out. They shoot themselves in the foot constantly and still win games. I don't get it. So this is a game that I think the Jags could easily lose this game, in my opinion. So I like Tennessee getting 6.5 at home. I think they're a very live dog this week. And you know, I would see if you could get a 7, but I'm almost convinced that you may not get a 7 here. My numbers make this game, believe it or not, 4.5. I would take 6.5 with Tennessee, and I may sprinkle it. I kind of have this philosophy. If you've watched me, you know this, where I try to avoid the bottom 5 teams in my power ratings, just the bottom 5. Like I'll bet average teams or even bad teams, but the bottom 5, like the basement dwellers. So we're basically talking like Titans, Saints, Jets, Giants, Raiders. Basically, are probably my 5, I think. So those are the teams I kind of just stay away from. But this might be a week where I think the Titans are due for one of those what the hell games where they pull out a win. And Jacksonville is the perfect team to get it against. All right, next one up. You got the Rams at the Carolina Panthers. LA -10.5, 45.5 is the total. This number is high, guys. Like, so last week I told you Titans was high, 13, and I had it 9. This is 10.5. I have it 8. Pretty close to being I think it is my biggest discrepancy of the week. You know, this is your buy low, sell high. This is your market, public perception of the Rams, the best team in the NFL. They're going to win it all. Stafford is playing at a ridiculous level. They're unstoppable. And then you got the Panthers who just got beat up. They scored 9 points on the road. And I would take the 10.5 here with Carolina, try to buy low on a team that has been much more competitive at home as a home dog. This is a non-divisional game. So I think the Rams could kind of coast through this one. The back door might be open. Now, the problem here is the passing offense of the Rams is so damn good and so damn elite that they may just cook this Panthers team the entire game. But I just don't see why you need to. I think this is much more of a game like we saw with Seattle, Tennessee last week, where, yeah, they'll build up a lead and then they'll just take it easy in the second half, and the Panthers will still be fighting and scrapping because they're the scrappy dog at home and they got to stay in it for the division. And they probably backdoor this game and lose by like 8 or 7 or 9 or so, where the Rams can kneel it at the end. But I just don't see, and the Rams defense is playing well, but Carolina has been much better at home. All their stats across the board much better at home. They've been really good as a home dog. They have several outright wins as a home dog this year. I lean slightly to the Panthers getting the 10.5 in this game. I just think the line is a bit inflated. Next game up, you've got the Saints taking on the Miami Dolphins in Miami. Dolphins -6 is the spread, 41.5 is the total. This is another game that I just really don't have an opinion on. Miami will be um, coming off of their bye. They played that game overseas against the Commanders, which they pulled out and won. One thing I will say is the Saints earlier in the season were running the ball well. Miami has been good against the rush lately. It's just so different. I mean, you got this Tyler Shuck versus Tua. It's just such a tough game to call. You guys know how I handicap, and I like to stay away from these games. These games where I it feels just to me feels like first of all, it just feels like too many points with the Dolphins. So let me just check my ratings and see if that's right. I have this game Miami -5, so there's a point discrepancy there. And it just feels very high variance. It feels like a game, the Saints are coming off of a divisional loss at home. So maybe they're in a bounce back spot. Maybe Miami's in a fade spot off a win. But then again, the Saints have not been good on the road. They've been good at home. Just to me, too much crap here mixed in. Miami doesn't have a great home field. Um, I just can't get to the window on this game in any form or fashion. My numbers lean over at 41 or sorry, 41 and a half. If you could still, there's a 42 starting to pop up, like a 42 and a half on FanDuel, but a lot of books have 41 and a half. My numbers like the over on that. That's a game that I'm staying away from. Another game that I'm staying away from, we had the Falcons taking on the Jets. Atlanta at New York. Atlanta -2.5 in this game with a total of 39 and a half. I mean, believe it or not, the Jets led at halftime against the Ravens 7-3 last week, but I think that was more Baltimore than it was New York's defense. Just don't think the Ravens are right, as I discussed earlier. In this game, Kirk Cousins looked much better last week. All right. And that was against obviously not a great team. The Saints are not a good team. Maybe they should not have been favored in that game. Um, but he did look better. He completed some nice passes downfield. He had some pop. Atlanta just overall the defense played really well. Listen, are they the better team? Yeah. I've only got this one though. It's -2.5. I have this as -1. I would lean in this game to teasing the Jets up to 8.5 because now you're going to get Cousins on the road, but outdoors on the road, where historically, remember, Kirk Cousins, when he was in his prime, was historically very similar to like Jared Goff, not the level of play, but in how you handicap them, where you want to fade him on the road, outdoors in the cold. That was always a Cousins thing. That was always a Goff thing. And then you want to back them indoors. So hey, Goff just won a game indoors. I'm sorry, Cousins just won a game indoors in the divisional game. And now you're going to go on the road to play the lowly Jets, who can't get out of their own way, but the defense is fighting week in week out. They competed last week. I mean, it's all you can really ask for. They covered the spread against the Ravens, 13.5. So now you get them as a home dog. Listen, I can see the Jets winning this game, to be honest, but I would tease the Jets up to 8.5 if I was going to be forced to play this game in some form or fashion. But since they are a bottom five team in my power ratings, I probably will stay away. But I do think there's not many great teaser legs this week because not a lot of 2.5s, not a lot of 7.5s. I think one of the better ones is the Jets from 2.5 up to 8.5. I would tease them in this game. All right, the 49ers taking on the Cleveland Browns. Oh man, this is very interesting, and I'll tell you why. The 49ers are now -5.5 across the board with a total of 38.5. This was 6.5. We have seen Shador Sanders money in the market. Obviously, coming off of his win on Sunday, where he played a decent game, completed some passes, threw for over 200 yards, a couple of big plays, the big bomb he threw downfield, great play, great throw. That shows you some of the potential you've got there. And then the little screen pass that ended up going for like 60 yards or whatever. So you don't give him a ton of credit for that. EPA wise, QBR wise, success rate wise, the numbers don't look good for Shador in that game, but he got a win, right? And you're not expecting him to come in. When you have a young quarterback coming in like this and everyone's beating down on him, shitting on him, the only thing you want him to do is just not throw the game away. And he didn't. He threw one pick and, but overall, he made a couple mistakes, but he played well enough to win the game, and that's what you want, right? He also made a nice play with Judy. Judy fumbled the ball. Whatever. Shit happens. It's the NFL. He won a game. All right. You should be happy about it. And now it's a much tougher, obviously, scenario, but you're getting the Browns home road splits I talked about earlier. Their defense at home is going to be, I mean, it's very, very good. The last time, and you have, by the way, a data point here because the 49ers a couple years ago played on the road in Cleveland, and it was a windy, cold game around this time of year. I don't remember exactly when. They were laying a big number. I think it was 7-8, something like that. And they lost the game outright on a field goal at the end. I remember because I had the Browns in that game. I think it was like 19-17 final, something like that. Anyway, they lose the game. And now you have Purdy returning for another game that is probably going to be just like that. We're expecting wind, rain, snow in the forecast. It's going to be very cold in Cleveland, freezing temperatures, a very low total of 38.5. I love this under. I lean heavily to this under. And I now listen, it's in a bit of a dead zone right now with the 5.5. I would have leaned 6.5 with the Browns at 5.5. I can't really tell you to bet that. It's just there's just not much value. But would I be surprised if this is a 3-point win for San Francisco? Not at all. I think it's a close game, and I think the reason why is, I mean, you just saw what Purdy's capable of doing. He played such a great game against Arizona, then he comes out last night, Monday Night Football, he immediately throws 3 picks. I mean, thank goodness for that defense, man. And that defense is playing with nobodies, no name players. Somehow Saleh is getting it done. I mean, if there was like a defensive coordinator of the year award, he would be a lock for that. He's been unbelievable this year. So the defense actually won that game for San Francisco last night, not the offense, because Purdy did not look sharp. Now, if you go now you're going on the road with the weather against the top NFL defense at home, or maybe the second best. Man, I could see him making some more mistakes again. He cannot if Purdy gets loose with the ball and throws this, and that's how they'll lose this game. It's not going to be because Shador balls out because he's not going to. The San Francisco defense is going to have a scheme. Saleh, I think, is going to make life hell for him. And it's going to be very, very tough for them to move the ball and put up points, which is why I really like this under. But I think the only way San Francisco loses this game is if Purdy makes those same mistakes in on Monday night, give them short fields against this very opportunistic defense, a defense you saw. They got a pick 6 against Lamar last time. So you have to be very careful when they're at home. They will get pick 6s. They will get scoop and scores. They will force turnovers. Really tough home team to play in the elements. So, I think the Niners win, but I can't get there on either side of this game. If you got back up to 6.5, I would take the Browns in that one. All right, next one up, we've got the Vikings taking on the Seahawks. Seattle at home, laying a big fat number, minus 10.5. 41.5 is the total. The story here is we don't know what we're getting from Minnesota at quarterback. JJ McCarthy goes into concussion protocol. Actually seemed like he got hurt, concussed, whatever you want to call it, in that game, and then still finished the game, was put into protocol after the game. So kind of an interesting scenario here. Seattle, a very dominant road team under Mike Macdonald, has not been good covering big spreads at home, though, under him. I think they're just 4-10 ATS. I got to double check it. It's something like that. It's like 40% or less. So you're getting a nice big number here with a defense that can keep the Vikings in the. I like the Vikings defense is good, especially against the pass, which is how Seattle wants to get you. But there's just, whether it's McCarthy, whether it's Brosmer, whoever the hell the backup is, I think it's Brosmer. I can't back the Vikings with this quarterback situation. It is an utter disaster. Seattle's rolling. They're probably going to roll again and win this game. I'm not running to lay double digits with them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they covered. And I could make you a case for either side in this game, but I just can't get to the point where I'm going to back this Vikings team. This quarterback situation is just catastrophic. I mean, it is true. McCarthy is playing it so bad. Like, it's one thing to have just a kid that's struggling, but he's playing so bad that it's making you question the decision making of the coaching staff now, like of ownership of GM. Like it's making you now question, like, what did you see here? Because this is hilariously bad. And I know he's going up against good defenses. The Packers are a great defense, but I mean, we're seeing nothing. We're seeing like not even flashes. We're not seeing. There's nothing to be had here. So to me, I can't get to the point where I'm going to say this is the buy low spot for McCarthy, because every week it gets worse. What is the floor here? It's just, I don't know. I feel for the kid, but it's just been really ugly. And he didn't do himself any favors with the whole 9 thing and the whole persona. It's just rough. This usually happens when you do that kind of stuff. It might happen to Shador next week. I don't know. We'll see. But McCarthy looks rough. Darnold looks sharp, precise. uh, accurate. I mean, listen, the Seahawks lost that game to the Rams. They could have easily won that game. They were the better team on the field for most of that game. He did throw 4 picks. I don't think he's throwing 4 picks in this game. I think the Seahawks will probably win and roll, but I think it's only going to be because the Vikings just cannot put up points with this quarterback. But point blank, period, stop. They cannot score with him. And that is a big, big problem. All right, next game up, the Bills taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Buffalo minus 3.5 here, 47.5 the total. We've seen some pit money. This was higher on the look ahead, around, I think around 4.5. So this has come down a bit, obviously, with the Bills losing on Thursday Night Football against the Texans, the Steelers just losing, but I think you'll have Aaron Rodgers back for this game. I think now the Steelers are not exactly going to run the ball down your throat, but they can run the football. And the Bills are 31st against the rush. I think that's where they get them in this game. And this game, doesn't it feel insanely similar to the Colts game? The Colts going into Pitt, also laying 3.5 against the Steelers. Doesn't this feel just like that? Where the Steelers get one of those defense. This is a TJ Watt game where he gets it, he breaks it on at home, and the Bills struggle on that grass outdoors, and Pitt just finds a way to steal it. That's what I think here. That's where my gut tells me to go. I make this 3, so 3.5 does show value, but I do think you can wait and maybe get a 4. But I like Pittsburgh in this game. I'm just not sold on the Bills. Listen, the Bills started off 4-0 this season with, if you go back and look, they had that in ridiculous week 1 win against the Ravens where they were down 15 with like 4 minutes left, somehow won the game. Just a nonsensical win. And then after that luck box of a win, they beat like the Jets, the Saints, the Dolphins. They were 4-0. Since then, they're 3-4. This is like Allen is great, but this is as average of a team you'll ever see sitting here at 7-4. They could easily be 5-6 right now and coming into this game dying desperate for a win. I think Pitt is right there overall. In this one, like I said, I only make it 3. So I see some value on the Steelers coming off the loss. I know Buffalo will have the rest advantage, but this is a tough place to play in the elements. This is a tough defense, and they've got a game breaker. And you saw Watt almost single-handedly break that game for them against the Bears with the strip sack in the end zone that led to 7 points. Man, I think it's a tough matchup. So I kind of lean 3.5 with Pittsburgh in this one. All right, next game up. I'm not going to have much on this for you. The Raiders taking on the Chargers. Chargers minus 9.5 in this one, -9. I make this minus 8.5, so I don't see much. Not through any key numbers. Do lean to the under slightly at 41.5. It's a divisional game. The Raiders offense cannot, actually I should take that back. I forgot they fired Chip Kelly. Maybe sometimes you get a little boost, maybe a little shakeup in things, changes how you prep for the week, changes your game plan. Maybe that helps them a little bit. I small lean under, small lean Chargers coming out of their bye week should be healthier, should be fresher, but just can't get to the window in any way in this game. It's just one of those games where I think LA wins it, but I don't want to play with backdoor covers. I don't want to play with laying double digits with a team that doesn't, Chargers don't profile well as a big favorite. They profile better as a small favorite or a dog. This is just a game I want to stay away with, but it's worth noting that the market, the 10s are getting bought out. So the 10s and the 9.5s are getting bought. Pro bettors are siding with the Raiders off of the Chip Kelly firing. Okay, next game up is Sunday Night Football. The Broncos traveling to Washington, taking on the Commanders, laying 6.5. Denver coming out of their bye week here, 43.5 is your total. Both teams are on extended rest in this game, which is interesting because I always look for those games and I always look to the under in these games. It's north of 60% when two teams are on extended rest playing each other in a primetime night game. The under is over 60%. You're getting this above a key number at 43.5, 23-20 total. 20, but I just don't see how Washington puts up many points in this game. I have 2 angles for me why I like the under in this game. The first one is the Denver offense, which we know is not great, and Bo Nix is not great. And I think Washington will be well rested. And we talked about this in the Miami-Washington matchup, the Madrid game, where I said I liked Miami. I leaned Miami in the game because of the matchup of Miami's speed on offense versus Washington's slower defense. Same thing happened when they played the Lions. When you have speed at the skill positions, the Commanders' defense is such that it cannot really keep up. It's very similar to like a Tampa Bay in that aspect. This is a scenario where Denver does not have that. They don't have massive playmakers at the skill positions, right? They have some decent receivers, but there's nobody's knocking your. There's no Jameson Williams. There's no Amon-Ra St. Brown. There's no Jalen Waddle. There's no Devon A. Chain. Like, so there's none of these guys that are just going to like completely obliterate you. So I actually think Washington's defense can keep up in this game and force it so that Knicks just has to kind of dink and dunk, hand the ball off and dink and dunk. And I actually think they can have a good defensive game. And on the other side, we know how great Denver's defense is. How's Mariota going to put up points in this game? So I could see this being like a 17-10, 17-7, 20-10, 20-13. And either way, the under cashes in all of those. So I like under 43.5 in this one. A very rare total that I usually just talk to you guys about sides. Very rarely do I have a total that I really like on the board. And I will probably end up playing, maybe if a 44 pops, I'll be happy, but I will take 43.5 to the under with the Broncos and Commanders. Monday Night Football is the Giants taking on the Pats. New England -7.5 at home, and 46.5 is the total. I will say about this game, guys, this is New England going into their bye week. So after this, they're going to go into the bye. They are playing phenomenal football. There's not much else you could say. They didn't play a great game against the Bengals. May threw a pick six, but even looking at the box score after and the advanced metrics after, he still had a really good game, overcoming the pick six. So he's just playing at a really high level. And I just don't see how I know they just had that crazy game against the Lions. The Pats are now going to be ready for it, right? You're going to get Winston again now, or maybe Dart comes back, but now they know what to expect. And I think it's going to be a much different scenario in this game against this New England defense versus, especially going into their bye week versus the Lions, who I think got caught looking ahead to Thanksgiving versus the Packers. Much different scenario here. It's also worth noting favorites going into their bye week. I think it was like 58% historically over the last 20 years, a pretty strong angle. I wouldn't be surprised at all if New England covers this, wins by double digits. I like them in teasers. I just think the Giants, they've covered back-to-back games now. They almost beat the Packers outright. They almost beat the Lions outright. And you can go through it a third time in a row. Everyone's going to fall in love with them. They're going to be the public dog of the week because of what Jameis did last week. This could easily be a game where he throws 3 picks. They get stifled on the ground. I don't like this matchup for them, and I don't like the fact that they are going to be like everyone's darling dog of the week because of all the hype around Jameis, about how Jameis Winston is playing. So it's nice to see the Giants playing better. They're competing, and maybe they get Dart back in this game, and that might help them a little bit. But Winston's playing pretty well. I just think the Pats are the far better team and don't have any distractions coming up to take away from the fact that they just need to handle business in this game. So I like New England in that one. All right, guys, that wraps up week 13 on First Glance. Like I said, I'll be back tomorrow. So today's Tuesday. I'm going to be back tomorrow, Wednesday, before Thanksgiving. I'll post we'll do like a 5-minute run through of the market just to see if anything has moved that's worth noting. And then I'll give you my best bet for Thanksgiving. I've got 2 bets released for 2 sides on Thanksgiving. And I've got a third play for the weekend. So 3 NFL plays are out. If you're interested in signing up, check the description down below for a deal for our link tree that has all our deals in it. You can text the number over here that's somewhere down here to get the free picks texted to you. As always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.